This is a message of hope amidst a pandemic that is challenging humanity. Let's seize this unique opportunity to recast our ways of caring and sharing, to invest in education at a scale never seen, to make a pact, a new social contract for everyone so keen. Let's reimagine our world to find lasting solutions. This is our chance for a greener future. Together, growing minds and nature, let's adapt learning to meet everyone's needs, with technology to power teachers and learners, no matter where they are, planting new seeds. Together, we can transform education to fulfill the potential of every generation, leaving no one behind in a world where every voice matters. This is a message of hope amidst a pandemic that is challenging humanity. Let's seize this unique opportunity to recast our ways of caring and sharing, to invest in education at a scale never seen, to make a pact, a new social contract for everyone so keen. Let's reimagine our world to find lasting solutions. This is our chance for a greener future. Together, growing minds and nature, let's adapt learning to meet everyone's needs, with technology to power teachers and learners, no matter where they are, planting new seeds. Together, we can transform education to fulfill the potential of every generation, leaving no one behind in a world where every voice matters.
Hello, everyone. If we have everyone ready, we can start. So firstly, I would like to welcome all the participants of this forum organized under the auspices of the Association for Dialogue and Universal Values based in Romania. My name is Serdar Luteu, and today I will be your host. Together with my colleagues, Mr. Vugar, Mr. Mehmet, and Mr. Farouk from the Education and Social Activity departments that work in the schools in Romania to ensure high-quality teaching and learning practices are developed, will be facilitating discussion sessions. Mission of our education department is to impact student learning, as we believe the main recipients of education are the students. That means you guys. For this reason, it is exciting for us to have students who will share their perspectives and experiences with all participants of this forum. We also work with the schools to understand their stakeholders, teachers, parents, and especially students. For our department, being part of this forum will definitely help receive valuable perspectives and data from students who join us from the neighboring countries and schools. We are hosting student representatives from 4 countries. And before starting our discussion, we'd love to know more about you. So we are kindly asking you to introduce yourselves. Tell us your full name, name of the school, and country. But before we start that, we also want you to rename in the Zoom session by full name and the country you are representing. So while your colleagues will be speaking, please, we are asking some help on the technical side that you can adjust these names. But let's start introducing yourselves and knowing each other, and we'll do that in the alphabetical order. So let's start with the colleagues from Bulgaria, then Moldova, Romania, and of course, alphabetical order, but not the last ones, Ukraine. So guys, please, the stage is yours. Let's introduce yourselves. The colleagues from Bulgaria?
Oh, okay. So I'll be first. My name is Elena Bashova. I'm from private school of Truzhbel, Sofia. And my country is Bulgaria. I'm from Bulgaria.
Okay, nice to have you here. Let's hear your colleagues as well.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Celine. I'm from private school Druzhba, Sofia, Bulgaria.
Welcome, Celine. Okay, let's hear your colleagues.
Hello, my name is Rukia Arslan. I'm from Bulgaria too. I study in Druzhba School.
Welcome, Rukia. Do you have anyone else?
Yes, my name is Seville, and I'm from private school of Druzhba, and I'm in 9th grade.
Okay, welcome, Seville. Do we have anyone else from Bulgaria? If not, let's go to Moldova.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm Besma,
okay.
and I'm in private school Druzhba in Plovdiv.
Welcome, Besma, to our forum. Is there anyone else from Bulgaria, or we are traveling to Moldova? Let's hear out our colleagues from Moldova.
Hello, my name is Sofia Chernenko. I study at the Horizont Lyceum in Chisinau, Moldova.
Welcome, Sofia. Nice to have you here.
Hello, my name is Daria, and I am from Horizont High School from Chisinau in 11th grade.
Okay, welcome, Daria.
Hello, my name is Francesca. I'm also studying at Horizont in Chisinau, Moldova.
Okay, nice to hear.
Hello,
Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Sandoljana. I also study at Horizont Lyceum, Chisinau, Moldova.
Okay, very nice to meet you. Do we have anyone else from Moldova?
Hi, my name is Andrea, and I also study at Horizont High School in Chisinau.
Okay, welcome, Andrea. Now we are flying back to Romania. Let's hear out our colleagues from Romania.
Hi, I'm Radu Sonia. I'm from ICHP. I'm from Romania.
Okay, ICHP Bucharest. Nice to have you.
I'm also from ICHB, and I'm Anna Helga.
Welcome, Anna.
Hello, my name is Morjan Mihnea George. I'm also studying at ICHB Bucharest, together with Sonia and Anna Helga.
Nice to have you here.
Hello, I'm also at ICHB, and I'm Popea Alexia.
Welcome, Alexia. Okay, if that's all for Romania, we are going now to Ukraine.
Good afternoon. We are from Odessa, School Lyceum Chernomorsky. I'm Albin Kaur. My name is Anastasia.
My name is Sergey Borisenko.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here, guys. So now that we have been introduced, it is important. Oh, we have someone else from Meridian. Sorry.
Yes, that's fine. I'm from Ukraine. My name is Hafsah, and I'm from Meridian International School.
Nice to have you here as well. So not to skip anyone, is there anyone left? I guess no. So welcome once again. Nice to have all of you here. And as I was saying, that now that we have been introduced, it's important to understand why we are all here. This forum, which we are organizing a couple of times a year, aims to understand and build on student perceptions and perspectives related to impact, adaptation, and future prospects of education during this special period of pandemic, COVID-19, in their own countries. Okay, we are talking about separate countries, separate mentalities, separate cultures and ways of understanding. According to many important researchers, when shaping education practices, we all need to base it on their unique context. What we mean by context in schools could include the school's unique teaching and learning culture, student and teacher profile, school's unique curriculum and assessment practices, legal requirements, and so on. This means that there is bound to be differences and similarities in practices in different countries when planning, implementing, and evaluating their teaching and learning. Today, we are all probably going to hear these differences and similarities from all the representatives of participant countries. That means you guys. I would like to ask all of you to pay attention to these differences and similarities as you listen to the perspective from different schools. It's important that you all feel comfortable sharing your ideas and your experiences in your school environment. Okay, so it's a free platform. Everyone who wants to speak will have our technical assistance. You raise your hand, and you can speak. I hope there will be an effective discussion that will enrich our understanding of education during such a special period of time. I'm also sure for us as leaders and educators that the experiences you will share will help us shape teaching and learning practices in more meaningful ways. At last, I hope that every one of you will enjoy the discussions. So, we've discussed a lot about the concept, about what we want to do. So now let's go to the discussions. And as I mentioned to you, because we are 4 countries, and in order to have an organized discussion, we'll go in the alphabetical order, okay? So we'll start with Bulgaria, then Moldova, then Romania, and then Ukraine. Of course, among you guys, whoever wants to speak can raise the hand and speak, okay? So we'll focus on 3 central questions today. And the first question will be about learning. This is the part where you'll have the opportunity to discuss essential learning and important takeaways after the challenges we faced in the education area. One more thing to add, after you guys will speak, we'll have Mr. Vugar from our education team who will come and share with you our vision on this topic, okay? We will also try to conduct the discussion in an interactive way, which we will all benefit. So the central question about learning in the first part is, what did we learn from challenges we faced in education in recent years that will allow us to shape education in more effective ways? So, okay, the stage is yours. I will repeat once more the question to make sure that it's a clear understanding. What did we learn from challenges we faced in education in recent years that will allow us to shape education in more effective ways? And I'm seeing Seville, and we'll start with Seville, and then we'll have Elena.
Hello. So as we're all aware of the current situation, COVID-19 has gave us a lot of unexpected challenges, especially in education, and has changed major parts of the school system, including going to school in real life instead of doing digital school, which is much less productive, and it doesn't bring out the students' attention so much, and the connection between the teacher and the student is actually lost. What we learned from it is that we need to adapt new online programs, which will make learning online much more interactive. And we need to discover and create more programs which will help build a connection between the teacher and the students. And instead of students not paying attention, laying in bed all day, which is the reality of what happens, we can have them actually listening and learning things just like they are in school. Yeah.
Okay, so we are speaking about the interaction between the teacher and the kids at home. Okay, thank you, Seville. Then we have Elena raise her hand. So Elena.
Thank you for giving the opportunity to speak. I think that some challenges we faced together, all schools, all teachers, and all students together, are the challenges that involve technologies. For the recent years, as the colleague from Bulgaria spoke, she said that the interactions between teachers and students is very vital. It's our need to see that interaction. And as well, for that interaction in the recent years, we needed to involve technologies. And as it is something new, like now using Zoom, and for the recent years, as we used other platforms, many teachers and many persons at all, they didn't see the vital need to use technology in the educational system. And that's a very big problem because the technology is our modern perception of the world, and without it we can't go on. And it's like vital for us to learn how to use technology, how to involve it in school and educational systems, because our educational systems are still not that very involved in technologies. And that's something we have to change. We have to change our course of learning towards a destination that involves technologies and our studying of technologies, as well as now we have IT, which can involve how we can use the technologies in our days, how can in class we can use technologies, how can we speak with technologies, how technology can speak with us, because from now on we live in a world with very rapid changes, and not everybody can adapt to those changes very fast. But a school is the environment where we learn about life, not only in school, but after school. So we have to involve technologies in school so we can see the real world outside the school. Thank you very much.
Definitely, EdTech, it's becoming a vital part of all the ecosystem involving schools. So thank you, Elena. Then I'm seeing Celine raise her hand. So let's hear out Celine.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say how hard it was for teachers, students, and parents to start using a learning management system or any other digital tool out of nowhere without additional training. They were overwhelmed by the amount of data they had to deal with, trying to go digital, as well as frustrated facing the unknown. That was one of the first challenges facing the introduction of online learning. But this was also a great opportunity for people of all ages to improve their computer literacy. As well as younger people, older generations worked hard and learned the ways of performing basic computer operations necessary for the learning environment. For example, this Zoom meeting is all thanks to the technology. We wouldn't have even thought of doing this if it wasn't for online learning as well. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So I think almost the biggest part of the world learned Zoom, right? So maybe 2 years ago, no one heard about Zoom, and then suddenly most of the schools are using the Zoom platform. So we must adapt to these times and use technology accordingly. Let's hear out the final inputs from Bulgaria, from Rukia.
Thank you. So the pandemic may sound and feel challenging for some of us, but I think that it taught us lots of different things. For example, we learned how to use technology in education. I think it was more productive because in the classroom there are many noises. Sometimes we can't pay that much attention to the teacher, and I think that was more effective in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Rukia. Guys, just a couple of mentions, admin stuff. So first of all, of course, that we want to hear your voices, all of you, but it's not mandatory. I mean, don't feel obliged that everyone in the country to answer. So if you have like 1-2 colleagues who want to speak out, it's fine. If you want all to speak, it's again fine. Okay, so no obligation on this side. It would be very effective if we can be efficient and structure our answer around 2 minutes maximum. Okay, so we can give the opportunity to all our colleagues to speak out. So having this said, let's go to Moldova, to Horizon School, and let's hear your feedback with regards to our question. Andrea, please.
Hi, so I would like to add to what the Bulgarian representative said, but from a different perspective. So I think that a central issue that I have been observing, at least in my country, has been the loss of interest and motivation in students. And this is also relevant within the pandemic context. This is a huge problem because their educational career of students is there to help guide them and prepare them for the future. And what happens when they're not interested and all they want to do is go home and play video games? They're not ready to take on the challenges of university and life in general. There's a quote that I found that I liked. It said that education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. I believe that it is crucial for schools to at least partially capture the student's attention and engage with him or her rather than just explain the topic. One thing that I noticed during a recent English lesson was that new innovative methods of assessing the students' knowledge makes the kids more excited to actively participate. Like a simple example would be Kahoot, which can wake up the competitiveness between classmates and can motivate them to study. I think different students learn in different ways, so their senses should be stimulated such just as diversity. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And indeed, I think that having a diverse ecosystem of applications, tools, assessments, right, you can identify the right methodology to work in the schools. But let's hear out also from Sofia in Moldova.
So my observation of this situation was that it is a much broader problem that we face in education. I was very lucky to be in a private school and be able to afford a computer and a phone to have an efficient kind of communication between my school and I. But what I noticed is that the marginalized children in rural areas did not receive the same level of quality of education. And I think this opened my eyes to a problem that we should really face, which is to protect educational budgets and invest into the educational system.
Indeed, there are real problems of the world, and yeah, we need to take care of these. Very good points. It's not just about us, it's also about the others. Before stepping to Ukraine, I saw Hafsah, your raised hand. Let's go, as we've mentioned, in alphabetical order, and let's hear someone from Romania. And I see Sonia raise her hand.
Yes. Like the people before me said, we have found some difficulties with online learning. Like speaking from my point, I cannot concentrate at school necessarily when there's so much going on around me. I have a younger sister, she's 6, so she can go to kindergarten, so I have to stay with her, I have to take care of her. It's very hard to be at home and pay attention to some lessons that it's not so interesting because I don't like them necessarily, or some things just, I don't know, I just don't like them. But we did learn that we can use other things to make school entertaining, and like the girl said, Kahoot is a very good example. It's very fun, and you can learn through other things besides writing and reading constantly and things that are just repetitive and boring.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I was going to mention that education doesn't have to be boring. Okay, it can be fun. It very much depends on the teacher and the learning. Here we are talking about learning, and I would like to hear also Alexia from Romania. Alexia, please.
Okay, so during this global pandemic, we learned that not everything is for granted, including education, because not a lot of kids had access to education during online. When the school closed for the first time in March 2020, not everyone had online school. I hadn't. And like me, there were millions of other kids in the public education system who didn't have the resources to do online school. But we learned to use technology for school. And for some teachers, that was a challenge, but they learned. And as we all now know, technology is the future. So the fact that we can use technology more in education is what we need to shape the nowadays education into the future education. Because I didn't have education. Like when we first started online in March, I hadn't. Like there are only 2 teachers who actually did something, like Romanian and math, because I had an exam. But otherwise, I had nothing. And that's not the case for other students in the public system, but for the private system. But for the ones in the public system, they didn't have school, and some don't even have school now after 2 years.
Yeah, definitely the digital transformation should be a priority for all the educational systems in the country. And indeed, the fact that some of the schools actually realized that technology should be part of their investment and strategy. Okay, education is not equal technology, but technology should be a tool in the education field. Okay, so thank you very much for your input. And last but not least, from Romania, let's hear Anna Helga.
I totally agree with Alexia because in Romania we are a poor country and we don't have a lot of internet and connections and stuff like that. And not in the urban side, we had some issues with online education. And I also agree with Sonia in what she said because Kahoot is a very okay way to learn and it's not boring. And I find it attractive. It's more okay to learn in not a boring way. You want to learn and like to learn and learn to love to learn.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You need to have education done in an attractive way. So thank you, guys. Let's go to Ukraine and hear out from the guys in who wants to speak first, Odessa or Kiev. Who wants to start?
Hi, thank you. So everyone here is talking about the COVID-19 problem, which of course is very, very crucial for the education or for the education system, but that's not it. There are more problems. Well, I'm going to start with the COVID-related issues. The first, I think it would be the troubles with connection because lots of people have bad internet providers, as well as me, and it's very hard to be on the lesson when the internet is always lagging and stuff like that. The second thing would be lack of self-discipline and enthusiasm of the students, because like I think half of my class is just laying in their beds or playing video games, and that's not good at all. The third problem would be that some teachers are not ready for such format. They were born with with books in their hands, if I can say so, and now they must have computers, and that's a big problem for them. But they're trying hard, I know. And the fourth problem would be local problems, such as kids, which can be running around the flat or the house and making some noise, neighbors that can also be making noise, and we cannot stop that. So online education is not the better decision. But the problem that touched us the most, like I mean my class to be precise, was a very large number of subjects that we have to learn, which are also very unnecessary. It's difficult to dedicate appropriate amount of time, effort, and attention to every lesson. So we need to find a solution for that. Of course, our school is making efforts. We're halfway there to solve this problem. Our administration even started to let us, the 11th grades, choose the subjects that we need in future, in our future jobs. And I think it was a big step. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think that you've pinpointed some of the general lines that we all faced during this last couple of years. Thank you very much for that. Hafsah, you were raising your hand before.
Yes.
Sorry for not giving you the opportunity to talk at that moment, but just to respect the order that we have discussed. So please, you can share your thoughts now.
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the challenges we faced was the pandemic. That's the first reason we all went online. That's in my opinion, of course. The first time I came with Zoom was because of the pandemic, because the school shut down and there was the coronavirus. We couldn't go to school, the sickness basically. And then we noticed that with Zoom, we can connect with each other without being in one place. But that can also lead to other stuff, because humans, we always want to go outside, we want to do some activities because we're used to being like that. That's what humans are. But living in this small house, or a bit, doesn't matter, in a room, you are alone, or with your sister, doesn't matter, but you're in front of a computer and you have to focus on that thing for hours and hours. And that can be very hard sometimes, because you have to put full on attention to understand something for, let's say, 40 minutes or an hour without moving. But in school, you can sometimes change the position you're sitting at or look at somewhere else. But when you're home, you will get distracted a lot. And that is one of the challenges we faced, as well as the teachers. The teachers could not teach us properly too at first, because they were not ready for something like this. However, by time we all got used to it and we all could adapt to it, because that's biology, that's how everything works. We adapt and we become better at doing something. And I think that one of the challenges we faced was that the online education was something that came out of nowhere, and that is the main challenge we faced.
Okay, thank you, Hafsah. Mr. Vugar, would like to hear your reflection on this first question about learn. So just to recap it, let's hear your thoughts and then we'll go for the second part.
Yes, thank you. And first of all, I'd like to mention how happy I am to be among such smart students who are sharing very valuable perspectives on teaching and learning as well as education. These are the things that actually allow our department as education department in Romania to basically shape the structure of the education. So basically for our education, the challenges that have basically pushed us to think differently about teaching and learning practices. So we learned that actually the culture of learning and teaching have changed, and we needed to adapt for more effective education. And more importantly, the development of actually children should be done in a holistic manner. That's what we learned. And that means addressing like students' intellectual, physical, moral, emotional, and social needs. Also, what we learned has a lot to do with the meaning of effective learning. We learned that students should be, individuals who build their education on like creativity, production, and taking initiative. A learning where students are, active, they are taking responsibility for their learning which is collaborative, and where students actually maybe learn about learning. So we also learned that the traditional way of learning, like some of you have already mentioned, which bases the teacher at the center of learning, who is the authority and who knows everything, is already becoming an out-of-date idea. This is something that we realize that it's not the teacher anymore who knows everything, but students can actually, with just certain clicks, find more information, compared to their teacher. We also learned that the engagement, so the key word here is really the engagement for learning that is happening on an online or offline or a hybrid learning. So for this reason, new approaches and tools we needed to develop for better student engagement. And I think you already discussed about it. And engagement maybe should be defined in terms of the extent that we are minds on or active in our thinking, not physically active, maybe not only physically active, but being minds on and active in our thinking. That was very important on an online platform. And we also learned that the new platforms have generated a new culture of classroom management. So where teachers actually needed to find more creative ways to build respect and connection, with the students. Maybe there are a lot of more things to talk about, but I think this is enough for the time being. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your valuable inputs, Mr. Vugar. And we've discussed about learning, okay? By learning, we are accumulating data. So we have a lot of information. What we do with that? So what's the next step? The second part we'll be discussing will be about transforming. And we'll discuss what the school leaders, teachers, students, and parents need to plan and implement in order to transform the education into something that is more relevant to the needs of school communities. And here comes my question to you. Given the learnings you reflected on, we've discussed, okay, what ideas will transform current education into one that is relevant to our needs and expectations? And let's roll back to Bulgaria. So guys, the stage is yours. Besma was the first one to raise the hand. Please, Besma.
Thanks. As we all know, after coronavirus started, it was a challenge for all teachers and students. When coronavirus virus started, it made teachers and educators have time to rethink the sector, because now technology has stepped into the breach, and we all will continue to play a key role in educating future generations. For a while now, educators around the world have been talking about the need to rethink how to educate future generations. This might just be the disruption that the sector needed to get them all to rethink how they educate and question what they need to teach and what they are preparing their students for. So as educators grapple with the new ways of communicating with their students away from their classrooms and lecture theaters, it's a good time to reflect on how this disruptive crisis can help us define what learning should look like.
Okay, thank you, Besma. Guys, just for your information, we are broadcasting live on YouTube, so you can watch afterwards all this. So from this perspective, kindly asking you to open the video cameras just to show the world these brilliant minds, okay? So I'm really proud that I'm sharing the same online stage with you. I'm really happy to hear your discussions, and I want everyone to see that. Okay, so the next one is Tavil. Tavil, please, let's hear out your thought.
As I talked about earlier, the coronavirus has changed many of us students' lives, and it has also caused many problems. We all talked about how, private schools, people who go to private school, they have better access to online education because the schools can maybe help fund technologies and maybe computers or just some kind of devices, because that is not a problem for private schools. But then here comes public schools. Of course, not everyone can afford to have 4 computers in the family for each child, and that can often become a problem. So I think a solution to this problem is to have more funding to the schools, and also donations are really important for wealthy people who have money in their pockets to help the unwealthy and unlucky people which aren't so blessed, for them to give their kids an education, because we are the future. We're the future of our nation, and I think we have to be a priority, because responsibility is on our hands for how we study and for how much effort we put into what we do. But it also doesn't all come down to us. We're not responsible for what kind of family we're born in. And funding is very vital right now because, as I said, not everyone can afford to study at home. And also, it is important for parents who and families who have money and are rich to give their children like a quiet space and just a little bit of calm in the house where they can really focus and just kind of eliminate any other distractions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Seville. Indeed, I think that education should be one of the top priorities for any government and any country, and they should invest in such policies and strategies for the future of the country. Thank you very much. Let's hear Celine.
This has been mentioned several times, technology. The intelligent use of technology can transform and improve almost every aspect of school, modernizing the nature of our curriculum, student assignments, parental connections, and administration. Online curriculum now include lesson plans, simulations, and demonstrations for classroom use and review. With online connections, students can share their work and communicate more productively and creatively. Teachers can maintain records and assessments using software tools and stay in close touch with students and families via email and voicemail. Schools can reduce administrative costs by using technology tools, as other fields have done, and provide more funds for the classroom. Students should go beyond the textbook to study complex topics based on real-world issues, such as the water quality in their communities or the history of their town, analyzing information from multiple sources, including the internet and interviews with experts. Project-based classwork is more demanding than traditional book-based instruction, where students may just memorize a few facts from a single source. Instead, students utilize original documents and data, mastering principles covered in traditional courses, but learning them in more meaningful ways. This way, we lessen the amount of textbook material and instead focus on the practical learning as a way to let the students express their creativity and remove the limits to the stone-hard material taught in traditional schools. By letting students experience situations hands-on, they are taught essential information that they will likely remember and use in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that we can summarize that besides working hard, we have to work smart, right? So thank you very much. Elena, please.
So I really think that our educational system is more adapted to centuries before now. And as well as I think that we have to adapt to the future, involving technologies and involving more budget in the technologies in their development. It is vital for us to have a look at the future, to adapt to the future, but as well as that, we have to know that we can change the future because we are the future. And now the students are more learning from the experience they have. And one textbook can give the experience that one teacher can give. That's why the interaction between students and teachers is from big need for us, for our learners. And for us as learners. For a teacher as well, as I heard many opinions, for a teacher is from vital need to interact with the student because they give the information to us, not that we cannot find it in internet. We finally can search and there are many documents that will pop up in the main page. But it is not that we can't find it. It is what the teacher can give, this interaction, this experience. Once in the 1800s, it was experience to touch a book written on a paper from a machine. And for those learners, it was experience to actually read on their language. But now it is not experience. Now everyone can do it, almost everyone. So we have to change, not only to read, but to engage in many other forms. because now not every student is able to engage to everything. And it doesn't mean that the school should give up, the educational system should give up the new ways of learning. They should involve more in perspective and more modern ways of learning to show the world that this is not 18 and 1900s. We are in new generation because we are the future.
Yeah, definitely we need to change the paradigm. Thank you, Elena. And let's go now to Moldova and let's hear Nika.
So I'd like to thank all of my colleagues that mentioned the valuable problems that we have been dealing with, like COVID, technology, and all of these issues approach the future in many and multiple ways. But one thing that I've seen nobody mention would be the issues around discrimination that every student in a school faces, either that it's gender-based discrimination or it's culture discrimination or ageism and stuff, and every single other type of discrimination that there is. When it comes to education in school, we learn about men. We learn about men in a position of power. We learn about men in STEM. We learn about men in history, in literature and arts, but we never learn about women. Never in my life have I seen a history book that mentioned a woman from a Roma ethnicity culture, or any woman, or that for that matter, that has done so much in her life and has accomplished so many things. The same goes for literature. Every book that I've studied, it was written by a man, and it contains so much rape culture that we were never aware of, and we're still taught that that's the bare minimum that we should set for. That's what is going to happen to us in the future, and that's how it should be. We have normalized gender-based violence and discrimination against so many marginalized groups that it has become normalized in so many ways, shape, and forms. I think we should start with eradicating that type of behavior and that type of thinking, because it has been outdated a long time ago. And before ever considering how much online school has affected us, I think it is also important to take in consideration how much the gender-based violence that goes around families with abusive dads or abusive parents, and how much that affected them during online school, how offline school was their only escape, and how that thing went away along with COVID. Nobody ever talks about that, and the question is why.
Indeed, Nika, thank you very much. It's a very less discussed and maybe considered by some of the guys out there a taboo subject to be discussed, but I'm so happy seeing that young minds like yours really sees the problem, okay? It's very important for us as educators to see that you guys actually you are there. And as Elena from Bulgaria was saying, guys, you are the future. And for us, the fact that you are seeing these topics, you are observing and you are thinking about them actually gives us a lot of hope that we can work together, this generation with the future generations, to overcome these problems. Because diversity is actually the wealth of a society, okay? Having said this, let's go to Francesca and hear out her opinion.
I actually think a way to transform our education system is to first of all go to the root of a problem. I'm talking right now about technology and the teachers, but some teachers that don't really know how to use technology, because in our country, most of the teachers from public schools are not well acquainted with how computers work, how Zoom works. And so there are a lot of times when they don't even do the lessons. And I believe that in this case, the way to transform our education system is to first of all provide these teachers with trainings and lessons to learn how to use this technology, and also kind of implement more modern ways of teaching even in universities, so teachers can start to like get acquainted with these modern ways of teaching and implement them in their day-to-day life during their school year and their teaching experience. And also, I believe another problem that has been quite aggravated throughout these few years is like the shortage of teachers, because first of all, even before COVID and even from a long time ago, there was the problem that we don't have teachers for certain subjects, or less and less people want to become teachers and teach students. But along with COVID, this problem has aggravated because somehow some public schools believe that it's okay to let the children just not have this lesson. Like they just don't have an online lesson at all for this subject and nobody cares about it. But I believe it's a subject that needs to be discussed and that needs to be somehow prevented. And I believe that another way to like prevent this and transform, let's say, the educational system is to actually it's actually from like the ministry and the government, like they should propose solutions for this and maybe increase their salaries and the opportunities for teachers in our country and outside, and even not in our country, but in all countries. So this problem could be prevented.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I do very well understand your point, and indeed to find solutions, you have to run into the fire. You cannot avoid it. Okay, so you have to run into the fire. Jacqueline, let's hear your opinion.
Thank you. So I wanted to bring out into the light an idea that I think could transform the education system, and that is the idea to teach students that their voices are important. By that I mean, there are so many students who have immense potential to create, to lead, to bring something into this world, but because they're not exposed to all the opportunities available to them, most of them end up just not taking their true potential, like doing the best that they want to do. So basically, coming from an experience of a public school, I never was exposed or never heard about any student clubs or student activities, which basically made my voice smaller in comparison to those of my authorities. And throughout those years, I felt like my voice was not important and anything I had to say was disclosed or discarded. So this is why I believe it's important to teach students that altogether they are important and their opinions matter, their needs matter, and they can take action and just change their lives for the better.
Okay, definitely my colleagues are taking into consideration all your inputs, but first you have to believe that your voice is important, okay? So make the others believe that your voice is important and let's hear your voices. This is one of a kind platform, this forum today, okay? And you know that we've previously discussed with your colleagues, with you, and we'll be discussing. So this is not the first and will not be the last forum that we are organizing, because we want to hear your voices. And now we want to hear the voice of Sofia Chernenko from Moldova, please.
To brush up on the things that my colleagues from Moldova have said about focusing on marginalized groups of children, about making voices heard, I think the most effective way to approach education is by prioritizing children's well-being, that being their mental well-being. And it includes also health and nutrition and social services that a school might provide. I think this is the best way a child will feel most comfortable in a school environment.
Yeah, indeed, as Mr. Rugar was also saying, we need to have a holistic approach. Okay, we need to take into consideration everything. So let's now go to our Romanian colleagues and let's hear Sonia.
Yes, first of all, I'm very thankful to be able to afford things that I need to have in order to sustain, to attend, I guess, online school, and I am very thankful that I'm in a private school, because I've been to a public school and it's not fun in any way. I have been bullied there, and it was just not something that I liked to attend, and I didn't feel happy. So I think a very big problem, like a base problem, is the fact that kids need to be safe, like need to feel safe in order to want to attend school and pay attention in school. Because if they don't feel accepted or safe, or they don't like going there, it's really pointless. And anything trying out there, like, okay, you change the subjects, make it easier, but if they don't like going there, it's not going to change anything. You have to make the children feel safe and feel happy in order to gain something. Both sides gain something from that. So I think we should focus more on giving out surveys and asking every child what would be the best for them, and get the majority of the answers and do that in order to make everyone happy, and so the school can teach their children in a good way.
Yeah, actually, feedback is very important in any assessment, and as we speak now, that's exactly actually the result of the learning. We were talking about transformation, how we can do the transformation by taking the input, the feedback from all the fields, okay? Starting with the students, with the pupils, with the teachers, with the management layers, parents, everyone involved in the education process. So let's now hear Alexia from Romania.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that I agree and feel the same way as Sonia. Like, copy paste the exact same thing that I feel. And another idea that I thought that it was like a smart one to use in order to, I don't know, like to transform our education is, I know I've said it, but like all my answers are connected, is about technology, because the future is technology. Like, we've seen the difference between jobs from now and 10 years ago, and it's a huge difference. Like, some of the job, I mean, if the difference is so big, and like from 10 years ago or like 20 years ago, just like think how big will be the difference in like 30 years from now, something like that, or even 5, because that's what we're working on. Like, everything is developing so fast, and at school we learn the same thing. Especially in my country, we have the exact same curriculum as our parents had. Like, I can talk to my parents about what they did, and I'm also doing it. So first of all would be just to change the curriculum and do it like, so we would help someone who wants to go into informatics in the future actually do that, or for someone who wants to go to PR to have a different class for that and stuff like that. Think jobs that we're gonna need in the future, not that we needed 20 years ago, 10 years ago, because we don't need that. We don't need to prepare for that, because that's not our job. Our job is to prepare for the future, and the future is technology. As I've said, like it's obvious. It has developed so much. Like, I remember I've seen videos from 2005 when I was born, and like, they used to have cassettes back then, like 16 years ago. And now if you have cassettes, you don't know where, because you can't find anywhere where you can play them. Like, I found some old cassettes in my house. I want to play them because I want to know what's on them. I can't. I don't have where to do that. Like, so yeah, so as I've said, there's a huge difference. So we should focus on the future, and the future is a technology. So we need to teach students, and we need to teach teachers, and for first and foremost to use technology to help us, because otherwise what are we going to do in the future?
Yeah, the change must take place in all the layers. Okay, so that's definitely how we should put the problem. Let's hear our colleagues from Ukraine, and then
Well,
we'll
sir,
ask
first
for...
of all, I would also like to say something, but for some reason I cannot raise my hand. I don't have the button there.
Sorry, Mihna. Okay, please.
Okay, so first of all of the guys here talked about issues involving technology, mostly in the beginning of this topic. So we talked about teachers not knowing how to use technology. Okay, this is a really important thing, you know, because if you don't know how to use technology, you cannot deliver materials and all this type of lessons, you know, to the students. But in the same time, the change from the physical school to the online school was so quickly that I don't think most of the teachers, and I'm talking about the older ones, you know, like they didn't have time to adapt. So this was in the beginning, not anymore a big challenge, in my opinion. Now, I want to hop off the private school. I want to talk more about the public school, because this is, for me, this is my first semester in a private school. I've always been in a public school since grade 1. And the biggest difference that I see here is that teachers actually care about what you receive. In the public state school, they just write on the board, they give you homework, and they grade you. That's it. No involvement whatsoever. So, and I think the payment, the salary, is a very important thing. And this is the major reason. Because if it was like, let's say, only one teacher in this private school that I'm in acted like he actually cared, then okay, maybe it wouldn't have been the payment topic. But it's like a radical change, you know. And I think the government should invest more in schools. And I heard earlier, I think from Bulgaria, some people cannot afford to do online school. They don't have devices. And so I wanted to give you an example of this. In my city, as some of you might know that are from Romania, the mayor of the city, I don't know if it was in all of Romania, but in Bucharest, they actually handed out the schools, and not only schools. So like primary schools, state schools, high schools, and also kindergartens. They handed tablets for the kids, not a brand new state of the arts, but you could work on them, and they were quite good. So I think this is a big step up, and more countries should have this. That is my opinion.
Yeah, definitely some government strategies and policies to be implemented to help for a healthier education. That's one of the topics to be taken into consideration. Let's now hear our colleagues from Ukraine about the transformation. We have the data, we have the input, how we can transform the education, guys.
As everybody have already said, there are a lot of problems connected with online education, and some problems, like Serozha has already mentioned, we can't fix, we can't control them, but there are some problems that we can fix. For example, students need to work on themselves so they can be more disciplined, and they also need to be more attentive to the lesson. And teachers need to conform with reality and avail themselves of the possibility of modern technologies. But the last but not least problem is grades. The school education system is focused on assessing knowledge by grades. The consequence of this is that students are not interested in getting knowledge and skills, but they are interested in grades. But grades can't help them in their adulthood. So I think we may need to move away from the outdated grading system and allow students to not to get hung up on grades. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I think grades taken into an assessment does not represent the student, okay? So yeah, but I think on this topic, actually my direct boss, Mr. Vugar, can share his opinion, his reflection. So Mr. Vugar, you have heard all these opinions from these brilliant students in all 4 countries in the region.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the reflection on the transformation of education?
Actually, again, I want to say amazing ideas. Thank you all. I'm really learning a lot from you, and you are touching the issues from very different perspectives. I want to keep it just short, but I think also the one of the ideas is to give opportunities for students to be in charge of their learning and possibly teaching, because teaching does not belong to teachers only, and learning is not only limited to students. So I think the idea is giving that voice, that power to students. It's very important. And providing tools basically for them to create, to produce and develop ideas. And I also believe that maybe this is one of the platforms where such transformation is actually taking place, that you are able to express yourself, share, and find your voice about education. And that is what actually we need. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vugar. Indeed, very precious reflection. And now, guys, you know, the discussion is going so well that I was totally not aware of the time which is passing. So I don't want to keep very much of your time. You are students, you are having school tomorrow. So let's go and jump to the 3rd question. Okay, so the 3rd part will be shaped around building and discussion of how we should build schools in ways that will transform our lives and education. So we have discussed about the past, about our learnings. We have discussed about the present and how we are transforming the education based on our experiences. Let's talk about the future. And my question to you guys is, what are some tangible ways to build a better education to transform lives of our recent community and beyond? And let's go again to Bulgaria, and the first one who will speak is Besma.
Thank you. First of all, I'm gonna say that to build a better education for students and for teachers is, first of all, to check up on all the students if they're mentally and emotionally prepared to learn, and if their mental health is good, or if they are in a good state to learn. Because in some schools, teachers don't care about students' mental health or emotional health, and that can distract them from learning. And that is one of the most important things, in my opinion, at schools. And we can talk about how important is school culture. In short, the privileged atmosphere in your school will affect everything that goes on inside its walls. This goes beyond the student's body. It also involves how teachers interact with each other, with their students, and with their parents. A positive school culture is a place where your efforts are translated into positive experience for both staff and students. Success, joy, and accomplishment are all main features of a positive school culture. When your school has a positive culture, teachers are excited to work because they see the bigger pictures, and students are in a better position to learn.
Definitely, Basma. Thank you for your input. The school culture, the culture that we are promoting in the school, it's very important. Let's go now to Elena and hear her opinion on the topic.
So my opinion is that some problems are being neglected, and they're being neglected because they are seen as problems. Those kinds of problems are, for example, the problem that every student has its own needs. And if back in the times, The teacher is the one in charge. Now the students and teacher are almost in the same level. Like there is not much difference because the source of learning is not all in the teacher's hands. But that doesn't mean that we have to neglect the power and the way of learning that teachers give, because not only the learning is what the teachers make teacher, but is the way of interaction with the students. And for building a better educational system, we have to involve the teachers in our projects and in our mindset, because they have to know how we feel about it, how we consider our future, and how we see the things that will happen, because we can do it by ourselves. The change goes on because of us, and the teachers are one who are helping us. They help us to build our future. They give us the first point, the start. They give us a very confident environment where we can start off to set off our journey. And I'm thankful to all my teachers because of that, and because they gave me a good start. And to build this environment in which the students can learn efficiently, we have to engage with the modern technologies, but also to engage with the nature, because that is where our roots are. We have to modernize the technologies built, but we cannot forget that our roots are in the nature. And we have been living with the nature for 4.5 billion years from now. And I think that it is a way to build an efficient educational system, because the nature and the technologies are the resources which can give us experience about our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Definitely a good start creates the premises for a good finish most of the time. So let's now go to Seville. Let's hear out what you have to say on this topic, Seville.
I just remembered, I really want to bring out this topic. A couple of years ago, when I was in my old school, it was a French school. We often watched movies about kids who aren't so blessed and lucky as us. Kids who live in very poor countries such as Cuba and African countries, which include Ethiopia, South Africa, and basically everywhere in Africa is just not very. I don't think there are any like African countries which are really rich, and the problem there is that schools aren't accessible for every child. And the reason for that is because schools are very far away, and they're very there aren't enough schools. So the kid has to walk to school every day because there are no cars. Some of them use horses, yes, but some of them have to travel 3 or 5 hours by foot just to get an education every single day. That is really tiring. And I really have respect for all these children who take the time and realize how important it is to study, and that the fact that they're going to study today is going to shape the future. And it's really sad, and it's making me really timid to remember all of the scenes I saw with kids walking and them not even having money for proper bags to carry their stuff and having to carry them on their heads, or school, or just broken up school bags. And how we can fix that in the future is really, really important for us to pay more fees. I think that wealthy people should have given more fees, and instead of them buying expensive clothes and expensive cars and just things for their own personal interest, they should help the ones who aren't as lucky as them. And and the more wealthy countries also should help out countries who aren't so rich. And I'm sorry. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Seville. Actually, it's a very good point that, we are living in a period where the speed and development is the key word, okay? But we need to take the time and reflect. Some of you were using this word, and yeah, indeed, we are blessed. Not only because you are getting education, but you have the opportunity to study in private schools. And as far as I know, for sure in Romania, the schools that you are studying in are among the best ones in your countries, okay? So we are really lucky from this perspective, and we are blessed, and we should take some time to acknowledge this. And yeah, very good point, Seville. Thank you for that. We are going to Celine now in Bulgaria, and Celine, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you. With fast-moving changes and increasing complexity across our society, the time is ripe for communities to re-engage in the central question: what is the purpose of education? Education is a major contributor to societal well-being, community participation, and economic prosperity and growth. Is our current system fit for purpose? Are we getting the results we need for our future well-being, prosperity, and growth? The first step is to engage communities, to define the purpose of education and outline the profile of a graduate. In other words, communities must determine the knowledge and skills students should have to be successful in adult life. That profile becomes a sort of North Star that guides systemic changes, that reorient teachers and learning to ensure each graduating student has those knowledge and skills. It redefines what student success looks like. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear now our colleagues from Moldova and their inputs on this side of the question. So again, we've discussed about learning, we've discussed about transformation, now we are discussing about building the future. So guys, let's hear you out. And I think Daria was the first one to raise the hands.
Yes, so I wanted to say that an important point is adapting teaching to different student characteristics by using diverse methods of teaching. Adaptation to the ability levels, patterns of different abilities, learning styles, personality characteristics, and cultural backgrounds, because all of us are different and we deserve also different attitude, let's say like this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely. All of us are different, and all the time we should talk about unity in diversity. Okay, we cannot be the copy-paste model, but we need to find the model which will fit us all. So let's go now to Andrea and hear what she has to say about this topic.
So I think besides methods of teaching like visual aids and debates, conferences like this one, there also should be the involvement of students in the curriculum, like was said before, I think. For example, just a general example, we have to read a lot for school. And in the curriculum, in Moldova at least, we have a lot of classical novels that are supposed to be these very interesting, very revolutionary novels. However, the contemporary novels that are more interesting to us, mostly, I think, have also like important things to say, and we aren't really allowed to discuss about those in class and like talk about our opinions, because we have to study about, I don't know, Mihai Eminescu, who's one of the most important like Romanian poets. Like, why can't we celebrate diversity through literature? Because each book has something to talk about, or most books have something to talk about. And I personally like to read, but if I'm obligated to read school books, then I don't have that excitement anymore, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We should keep the joy and the excitement in order to build very nice and positive things for the future. Thank you, Moldova. Let's now go to Romania, and I'm seeing immediately two raises hands, and Alexia.
Okay, so one way then we could build a better education system is by focusing on the problem. So the problem in the Romanian education system is that we have to not necessarily learn a lot, but like we have to know a lot of information that we don't really need unless we go into that field. And at some point I get it, to some extent I get it, because it means that we get we get more perspectives. We know a lot of things. Like if someone asks me on the street something about chemistry, I would know. I would be the smart ass who knows. But at the same time, it doesn't really help me if I don't want to go into a chemistry field. And I think we have to change the curriculum in order for kids to pick their subjects, but to be some base subjects, like Romanian math and stuff like that. Those have to be, you are forced to do those, but then to come the subjects that you are allowed, that you want to, not extracurriculars, but something like that, because that will help us, shape, especially in high school. It will help us shape, or I don't know, get to know each other better for university. Because you go into high school and you learn all these subjects and you learn all these things and you want to get in a good university, so you study, because some need you to get into the university by the average, not necessarily by bugs, but by the average. So you need a good average, so you need to ace all of them. Well, and then you go to university for, I don't know, psychology, but you have like a 10 in chemistry. And it's like, where is that related? And so that's why I'm saying you should change the curriculum in order, for the kids to choose their own subjects in high school. Because then when you go to university, you're a little bit more prepared for exactly what you want. And then in high school, it just like gives you so many options. After I was like, I like that subject, but I love that one, and you don't know which one to pick. So you're like, what am I gonna do? And that's not good, because then that leads to gap years. And people are like, no, I'm gonna take a gap year and find myself. And then other people are like, in high school you have to find yourself. But some people just confuse themselves more because they can't find who they are, so they take a gap year. And after a gap year, it's harder to get into university. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just a little bit harder, because like you lose that momentum of learning.
Yeah, exactly. You are getting a lot of information. There is a lot of noise, so it stops you from concentrating on what you want to do. So thank you very much, Alexia. Let's talk now with Anna from Romania, and let's have her sharing her opinion.
I totally agree with what Alexia said, but I think it's important to know a lot of subjects, because in the future, if you go to a meeting with people in medical dominium, in mathematics dominium, or something like that, you know what to talk with them and things like that. But I also agree with the fact that we do a lot of unnecessary things in school. Like, I hate chemistry and I don't want to do chemistry at all, but
okay,
I have to do it because of the school system. Also, in the Romanian class, we learn about Eminescu, Crangă, Caragiale, George Călinescu, and a lot of people that write books. And I don't really need to know that. I have to know things that are useful. Yes, and if we want to upgrade the school system in the future, we need some better teachers, I think, because some of them are used to the old type of teaching. like with very bad type of teaching. I know in some public schools they use the ruler, the thing you measure with, to slap children with it on their hands, and I think that's evil. It's really bad. It's not okay at all. And also, we need better technology because in public schools it's terrible. Like one computer in a whole class is working.
I see. Thank you very much, Anna. Sonia, let's hear out what you have to say on the topic.
Thank you. What if grades didn't matter as much as they do now? Because I feel like every person is judged based on some grades. Like today I have a test, maybe I feel bad, maybe I just got anxious and didn't do how good I could actually do if the pressure wasn't there. Maybe I could concentrate better if I didn't constantly think about, oh my God, if I get a bad grade, my parents are gonna kill me or stuff like that. They put so much pressure on things that shouldn't matter as much as they seem, because they don't actually matter. But parents really stress kids about your grades or homework or things like that. Like we have 7 hours a day of school and then like 3 or 4 hours of homework. I don't necessarily do all of my homework because it's very tiring and I don't have time because I do extracurricular activities as well. And I feel like the pressure I get on because of some of my bad grades, because I don't really get bad grades, but some of them aren't as good as I hoped they were. Just it's a lot of unnecessary pressure that really doesn't help anybody. And I feel like if the pressure wasn't there, it would be much better and everything would be so much easier if people didn't care so much about grades. And like the girl said, I don't think it's fair for people to have to study such old curriculum and so much for every subject. If I want to pursue in a field that contains like 2 or 3 of them, I have to learn 7 hours a day about something I don't really care about. Like I didn't choose to do that. I need to do that if I want to go to university, but my university doesn't even teach me, like doesn't continue with the stuff I learn in school. So it would be a good idea if, let's say in high school, the start of high school, you could choose what subjects you want to pursue. Because until high school, okay, you learn the basics. It's fine. You get a ground and you can just onwards learn what you want and what you think would be helpful for you in the future.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. You know, as they say, when you are in school, look very well around, because not all your colleagues might get to the Olympics in math, in science, but you may have Mariah Carey or Michael Jordan, a very good sportsman or a very good singer. You know, we are all different. And as you guys say, we are learning the basics, you know, until a certain age, then everyone should follow based on their interests, on their dreams, on their hobbies, and what do they want to do in their lives. I'm understanding, Mihna, if you still have the raising hand issue, and if you want to say something on the topic, please be my guest.
Yes, thank you. I have only a short thing to say about this because most of the ideas are already said.
Okay.
A very good thing a very important thing, I think, is communication between the teachers, you know, because let's say I'm saying this regarding to homework, because sometimes you can receive a ridiculous amount of homework overall, you know. So I think the communication between the teachers is a point that should be improved, because let's say you get like, I don't know, let's say 2 pages in math, and then you got 5 pages on your native language, then 1 page at chemistry, and the list goes on and on and on. Well, and basically, this is where I wanted there is a law that in the constitution regarding the educational system, which says that the homework cannot take more than 2.5 hours, and the teachers do not respect this. I've read this.
Okay, then definitely in your guidance hours in the school, you should share this piece of information with your teachers and maybe the school management. Thank you very much, Mihna. My understanding is that Rukia from Bulgaria also had some technical issues with raising her hand. So Rukia, if you can switch on the microphone, we would like to hear your opinion on the building the education for the future.
Okay, I think that it's really important to feel happy and to feel free to express our to express our opinions of different things. And I think that teachers are the most important thing in the educational system, because if they are not if they are not educated enough, we can't be either. So I think teachers are the most important ones.
Yeah, actually they are the light who is enlightening our way towards the future, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, an educated teacher, it's a very valuable resource for our future and all the classes that he's teaching. Thank you very much, Rukia. Very valuable feedback from you. Let's go now to Ukraine, to Odessa.
Hello, my name is Arveen Kaur, and I saw that this was a really good discussion, a very wonderful discussion, but mostly we were focusing only on ourselves. But the thing is that we in this world, globally, there are many children who can't afford, because of poverty, to go to school, and there are children who are living in war zones, for example, Afghanistan, Syria, places where there's war going on. So for those people, we need to do something. We need to do something so that they also get education. They want to learn. They are also, like we said, that we are the future. They're also the future. So we need to do something for them. So we are finding ways. So I personally thought that charity is a really good option, is a really good solution to solve this problem, because as an individual, I can provide just a little bit of money. And if everyone gives little bit of money, then a lot of money can be raised and it can help those children. Secondly, the governments, we can raise taxes. The government can raise taxes, or the money which is already in the country, they can use it to make schools available for those people who can't afford it. This is on a national level. Another solution to these problems of education is finding new, different, interesting methods of teaching and implementing them. Now, for example, earlier, even now, like in my school, we have projectors and we can watch videos and movies, and we have many different ways of teaching. Our school has really good ways, but there are many schools which they don't have these stuff. So they should provide different ways. For example, rather than sitting in the classroom all the time, they can go outside in the air and have a lesson outside. We should also have more competitions, more fun competitions, like World Scholars Cup. World Scholars Cup is a competition. It was held in Ukraine and in Bulgaria as well, I guess. It's a competition, a worldwide competition, and in this competition, you basically they give you syllabus, which is out of school curriculum, and it's really fun, and you study on your own, so self-studying, and it's really fun because they have debates and writing, and you work as a team, so they also have teamwork, and we understand the essence of teamwork. I believe that students, like, we are going to university later on, and I personally don't understand what I want to do in life later on. I have no clue what subject I want to choose. So we should have stuff like volunteering and internships in schools, so that like we can understand, we can get some kind of idea what is going on in life, what we are going to feel, what we are going to get in the future. Also, I see that many of you raised the problem of grades, of that mostly children focus on grades, and so they cheat on, and people think that grades are the only thing. For that option, I believe that we should have more oral tests, like speaking, so that the teacher can understand what exactly the student has grasped, what exactly he understood or she understood, rather than having written tests where the children can cheat easily. Teachers should be more like friends and than parents. There should be something in between, because as many said that a girl from Bulgaria said that teachers hit with scales and stuff, and she said that it's cruel. This doesn't happen, I guess, in my country. I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen, but the thing that happens is teachers shout at kids. Now, the shouting isn't something that children are going to understand. Like, the student won't understand what the teacher is saying if she just shouts. So first of all, she shouldn't shout. She should help the children understand what they don't understand. She should make them. She should find different ways of teaching them. And last of all, as a member of Z, as a student from Generation Z, I strongly believe that we should have less homework. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very valuable input. And actually, I want to relate to your first topic, because if every one of us will do a small portion of what it needs to be done, we can achieve great things together. And there is a small story which I want to share with you. It was told to me by one of my mentors. An old man was, traveling by the seashore. And while he was walking there, he saw a lot of fish thrown on the shore, on the sand. And then there were thousands of them, okay? And he started picking one by one and throwing back into the sea. And the people that saw him, they looked and they said, "Man, are you crazy? Do you think you can save them all? Look, there are thousands of them. You are picking one by one." And the old man said, "Yes, I'm aware that I cannot save all of them, but I'm picking one by one and throwing back into the sea. I'm giving them a chance. If I'm doing this and you will do this, and the next person that is walking on the beach will do this, if all of us can do this, maybe we can save a lot of them. Think of these hands, okay? Maybe all of us are one finger, and maybe we are weak. But when we do like this, we get strong, okay? So little by little, we need to put together all our forces and change the world. Okay, so last but not least, Hafsah from Ukraine, please.
Thank you. I would like to, I agree with everybody. They had very good points. They touched very good things. And I agree about the grades part, because we usually focus on the grades and what we're gonna earn as a grade, and not focusing on how to study. And I want to talk more about the online education too, because most schools are passing to online. Even there are universities that are going online right now. And I want to say that some teachers should push us to being more motivated and inspired to study. Because as an example on me, I don't have the motivation to study, and I cannot push myself to study alone. So when I come to school, I will just know that, oh, I have to do this homework, and after I finish this homework, I feel relieved. But I think that there should be more to that. If there is a subject I like, I should not only study for it for school, but I should study for it for myself too. And online, it's very hard to focus, as I said. So teachers should also try to motivate themselves to study to help students study in a better way. And about studying in school, I would want to say that having games between lessons actually is very effective, and like quizzes and such stuff. Imagine 2 lessons you learn, you study, and then the next lesson you have a small quiz about it, and it's not marked, it's just to check your knowledge. And you will see that you know more than actually, like you'll notice that you know more than you actually knew you knew. So like it's very interesting how we can make lessons more interesting by adding some fun in it and giving ourselves some rest in between. That would be more efficient in my opinion.
Thank you, Hafsah. Now I have my colleague with me, Mr. Faruk Erduran, very well experienced teacher with experience in both international curriculum and national curriculum here in Romania. And here you can hear twice my voice because we are sharing the same room. And actually, I would like to ask him to do a wrap up at the end of the discussion, both about the third question about the building, the future of the education, but also a wrap of the first 2 questions, and then we'll have the closing. So, Mr. Faruk, please.
Thank you, Mr. Serdal. I have been really very interested in hearing very different ideas from Bulgaria, from Ukraine, from Romania, from Moldova. Everybody really has very interesting ideas. It's important to harness this and produce something good for the future. And please don't keep these ideas for yourselves. Please share these ideas with your teachers, with your school leaders, and discuss this with your colleagues, and make this an agenda. Really, it's very, very great thing. I took some notes, but I'm not going to be able to read all of them, but just very, very shortly, I will tell you about the first part, about the learning and the challenges. Many of you mentioned about when the pandemic started with the COVID situation, schools started online, and there were really big struggles. The teachers were not prepared, the students were not prepared. We had difficulty, but this difficult situation enabled us to adapt quickly. And now, as some of you mentioned here, from different countries, we are together and we are discussing certain issues about education. So also somebody mentioned like interesting interactive tools like Kahoot enabled teachers to attract the students' attention. Some students were not interested sitting in their bed or playing some games, but these kind of tools made the online education more interesting. In the second part, there were many things that were raised. Some of you mentioned about the governments should invest in technology. A lot of you actually mentioned not only in our countries here, but also in Africa, in Cuba. Somebody mentioned in Afghanistan that students don't have access to online education, and the government should invest more on the technology for the education. At the last part, also some of you also mentioned not only about the education, the investment on the technology. You mentioned also about the pedagogy. Some teachers don't understand the students, and the students really feel what they are learning in the school is not very useful for their future. So you have mentioned that changes to the curriculum is really important to build a better education system for the future. The grades, a lot of you mentioned the grades should not be a problem. If you know that you are not going to be graded, you can be more motivated to attend and to learn something and to implement this for your life. There were really very, very great ideas. I have taken a lot of notes and I'm going to share this with my colleagues, with the principals from your schools and also with the people in the education department here. Thank you very much and thank you for the patience, but it was really a very productive, a very good platform here.
Thank you a lot, Mr. Farouk, for your inputs and feedback on the discussions that took place today. Guys, I'm looking to the watch and truly I cannot believe that we've spent almost 2 hours. I never believed that I could sit with some students and talk about 2 hours about how to develop ideas about education. Believe me, it's the first time. But now with all the joy and excitement of today's forum, I can tell my colleagues and my boss that I'm ready to do such forums on a weekly basis. Really, I love the energy that you have. And my advice to you would be, raise your voice, raise the flag. Whenever you have something to say, you have to do it in an appropriate way, in an appropriate manner, okay? But go to your teachers, go to your leaders, go to your community, go to your parents, but raise your voice because you are the future. You've said it, okay? Be the change you want to see in the world. First, look in the mirror and you be the change. When you can manage to be the change you want to see, then everything around you will change. My name was Serdal Uteu. I was very happy to share the same stage with you guys. I would love to have the opportunity to be again with you. For today, that was it. We are closing the session. Thank you very much for your time. I know that tomorrow you have schools again, so it was great talking to you, it was great being with you. Have a great evening, you all.